Hiya, Whisper here. 4 videos in a day? The dude is insane. It's also, as you can see in the bottom right, 3 in the morning. I have work in 6 hours. Alright, so I'm going to show you how I read logs. I do this in coaching sessions a lot, and a lot of people don't know what they're looking for. So I'm just going to review my own log of Mythic Laridar here, point some stuff out, and we'll go from there. So Assassination, as you can see from the graph, burst spec. Burst, 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 burst. So how do we get that burst? Well, you can look at my opener video, which I also released today, and you'll notice that this looks weird. So why does this look weird? This doesn't have an Envenom, and my Rupture is really early. Why did I do this? On Laridar, I'm playing Caustic Spatter for the ads. And if you're ever interested in should I play Caustic Spatter, how do I time my cooldowns around Caustic Spatter, this is the perfect fight to practice that on. So you'll see that I Groat, Rupture, Ambush, Slice and Dice, go into my cooldowns. This is about as fast as you can go in single target without losing too much. Technically what you could do is you could just Groat, Slice and Dice, and go from there. Like Groat, Slice and Dice, and then you would get the ambush off, and then you would just go. You just go from there. Ambush, Deathmark, Shiv, Shadow Knight's Kings Bane, and Venom, then you would Groat, get the Rupture up. However, I have to do it in this order, and I'll show you why. I want to time my Kings Bane to get the most damage out on the ads. When do the ads spawn? Great question. We can check that by going to Enemies, and then we can select the Fiery Treants and see damage taken. Okay, well, they got rid of it. But Fiery Treants, damage taken. And you'll see damage taken here from all of these sources. And you'll see that in this case, it's like 9 seconds in, and they live for about 10 seconds. The other way you can view this, if it's easier for you and you're not looking for a specific damage phase, is you can go to Friendlies, right? The default view. All sources, damage done to the treants. And you'll see here, again, 9 seconds, everyone starts hitting them, and then 18-ish, it kind of teeters off, 19, they start dying. So, 9 seconds they come out, and they live for 10 seconds, right? So I want the end of my King's Bane, the strongest part of my cooldowns, to kind of land between 17 and 19, right? Somewhere in that range. Which means I have to cast it really early. How do I cast it really early? By doing this. And so instead of casting it like 12 seconds in, which would be after the ads have spawned, I cast it before the ads have spawned. And so now the ads spawn, I get my Envenom off, and I'm able to get my tier set going. I'm able to ramp my King's Bane, so the spatter damage is going off, right? I'm able to get everything going a little quicker for the ads. And normally, I would suggest you skip the Rupture, but I can't. I can't skip the Rupture because I need Caustic, right? Caustic needs Rupture. So I'm Rupturing early here in order to get the Caustic up for the ads. And then I'm just slamming my cooldowns to try and ramp as fast as possible. If I didn't need Caustic, the fastest way to do this would be Groat, Slice and Dice cooldowns, or Groat, Slice and Dice, Ambush, Mutilate, and Venom cooldowns. That would get my King's Bane up, right? Normally you would Envenom before the Deathmark. So you can do either situation. In this case, I want to Rupture for the Caustic, and not Rupturing would mean that I would Rupture after the ads have spawned, and that is no good because I need Caustic up beforehand. Good stuff. Alrighty, let's check how that worked out. We'll look at the first 30 seconds. And you'll see, Whisper, top of the meters. What a guy, what a player, what a star. In reality, this was a really good pull. I had good ramp. And the treant damage, I'm doing okay. I'm not keeping up with the Demon Hunter. Sadie is also a very good player, so can't really do much there. However, you'll see I'm doing okay, right? I'm keeping up with a warrior, the Aug Evoker, Enhancement Shaman. I'm doing my part, right? I'm doing my part. And Larodar is getting trucked. I'm doing big damage to Larodar. I'm pumping everything into Larodar. Caustic Spatter's doing most of the work. Good stuff there. All right, now that we've covered that, let's go back and let's check some stuff. So we always want to make sure that we're checking Shiv, Kings Bane, Garrote, and Venom, right? This sequence that I talked about in my cooldowns. This is very important because, as we said at the start of the video, Assassination Burst Spec. Need to do your cooldown sequence. The other thing we're checking is the timing on stuff. So for example, this got cast at 6 seconds, so we should see 8 seconds later, right? Shiv lasts 8 seconds. 8 seconds later, we're looking for another Shiv. There it is. Good stuff. Kings Bane is cast right before 7 seconds. We'll just call it 7, which means 14-second dot. It finishes at 21 seconds in. So we should be seeing a Vanish 3 seconds before and a T 5 seconds before. Now this T comes in 17 seconds, which is a little bit late. I did miss a tick on this because I casted it a little too late. I should have casted it a little earlier. That way I would have gotten a tick. But what can you do? I'm human. I make mistakes just like everyone else. So this T ideally a little bit earlier. That way it would have caught the last tick. At 17 seconds, right? So 17 and 21. Right now I missed the tick at 17. So, 17, 19, 21 are the ticks. I missed it at 17. It is what it is. Not really too much lost. This Vanish here, last 3 seconds. Good stuff by me, right? This lasts into 21 seconds, so we're good to go. And then you see the three holy trinity of GCDs. Garrote and Venom Ambush. Love to see it. So good stuff there. We're obviously using Potion and my Trinket with Deathmark, so good to go there. And then from here on out, I don't really care what's happening here, I'm going to be honest. We have other ways to check the tier set, which I'll go over later. So I'm just going to skip ahead to the next set of cooldowns. So next set of cooldowns, I get parried here. Unlucky, it is what it is. But again, you'll see this combo in Venom, Shiv, Shadow Dance, Kings Bane, Garrote, and Venom. Perfect. That's what we want to see. We can check the T again, the Shiv, right? But it's good enough, right? I see 20, 29, so that all works. The Thistle T a little bit after Shiv, right? You want to kind of get 1 to 2 seconds between these, but the Shiv is a little bit late, so I know that the timing here is okay. Great, moving on. Here again, in Venom, Deathmark, Shiv, Shadow Dance, Kings Bane, Garrote, and Venom. The sequence every single time, good stuff. You see the Shiv, Thistle T, and the Vanish again. So here, 23-8. So this means it finishes at 37-8, and we vanish here, 37-2. So we did get the last tick in our Vanish. However, we did vanish too late and we missed the second to last tick. So that is a pretty major mistake. We missed the crit on the second to last tick because we vanished a couple seconds too late. So you can use that as a sanity check, right? 23 and 14 is 37, 37.8. So we want to make sure that we get a tick at 35.8 and 37.8, and we vanish both of those. So ideally, this would have been 2 seconds earlier, and the buff would have lasted into both ticks. So that's something I could have improved on the next time. We'll take a look again in Venom, Shiv, Shadow Dance, Kings Bane, Garrote, and Venom. Good to go. The Shiv timings look good. The T here looks good. And then the last set. Here, I sort of messed it up. You can see in Venom Ambush. Kind of weird. And this in Venom didn't actually last into this in Venom. So this is 5 seconds apart, right? You'll see that this is 36.1 and this is 41.3. So if this was a 5 combo point in Venom, which it was, I already reviewed this log, it doesn't last into this one. So if we would have just envenomed and went straight into cooldowns, it would have been better. But for some reason I fat-fingered my ambush. It happens. But again, this is a minor mistake. A little bit of a min-max that I could have improved for the next time. I also should have went Shiv, Shadow Dance, Kings Bane, and Venom, then the Garrote. You want to Garrote as early as possible to empower it. So again, I delayed it 2 seconds. That's missing an empowered tick, so that's a mistake again. Otherwise, this is kind of okay. And then the last cooldown sequence, I super fucked it up because there's no Envenom anywhere near this, and that's a problem. That's a pretty big problem. So it required me to then ambush Shiv, Shadow Dance, Kings Bane, and then Envenom here instead of the Garrote, and then I Garroted there, and then like now I gotta build up again. It's a bit messy, right? It's a bit messy. I was in a little bit of a struggle. It was the end of the fight, right? A lot of damage coming in. But I need to continue to be more consistent. It's a big problem of mine. I panic a lot of the times. I see my potion coming up and I'm panicking. I'm thinking of too many things. But this should have been an Envenom. I should have slowed down, looked at the fight timer, said, okay, I need to Envenom here. I can Rupture inside of my Shadow Dance, that's fine. But I need to get this Venom off to make sure the King's Bane is good. And that's the end of the fight, and we got the kill. But I definitely panicked at the end, so that's something I need to pay attention to. The next thing that I usually like checking, and this is a little bit of a more advanced thing and a very specific thing. So you can actually check the debuff on enemies. This is the first thing that I like to do. So enemies, debuffs from me, and we'll look for King's Bane. And if we go to tables, there's this little plus icon. You'll see this in a lot of spots. So we'll just hit this little plus icon. And this is the timeline of King's Bane on the target, right? Cool. So now we can go back to our friendlies, go to me, and then look at buffs on me. And now we're gonna look at how good did I handle my orbs, right? And we can zoom in on this. So if we just scroll over and select this, the thing we're looking for is we want this 3 buff, right? Aqueous Enrichment 3 to hang over the end of this King's Bane, right? If it's over the end, that means that our buff lasted through the last tick of King's Bane, which is the big damage, right? So we always want to make sure that the trinket lasts slightly longer than the King's Bane. That way the King's Bane is buffed. So in this case, this is looking great, right? This is fantastic stuff. This is exactly what you want to see. You want to see 2 buffs quickly, hold the 3rd one, and then the 3rd one all the way to the end past the King's Bane. So let's look at some other ones, like this one, for example. Again, a little bit scuffed. 2 stacks here, no 3rd stack. This is a big problem. The boss doesn't he has a charge, and then you get a debuff where you need to continue moving. So during this debuff, I just didn't collect another orb, and that's a big problem because each one of these orbs is like 17% mastery. It's a lot of mastery. 18% even, I think, for my character, doing the math. I go from 3 orbs takes me from 50% mastery to 96. I don't know what the math is on that. I'm not gonna do it because it's late and my brain doesn't work. But missing 3rd orb, bad. Bad. Need to collect 3rd orb. Get that in my head. Collect the orbs early. Make sure you run into the 3rd orb so that it hangs over the King's Bane. That is something that I paid attention to, and I need to pay specific attention to during this death mark, this 2nd one here on Laradar. We'll check this last one here. Again, beautiful stuff. The 2nd orb I could have picked up earlier, but it is not too big of a deal, right? The main thing, again, getting the 3rd orb, overhanging it over the King's Bane. So I did pretty good, except for the 2nd one, I could have done better. So the last thing I like to check is Envenom. Oh boy, Envenom and tier set. Now obviously, because there's ads on this fight, you can't compare them 1-to-1, so you'll see 70 hits of Envenom and 83 hits of Envenomous Explosion, which is the tier set. That doesn't make much sense. So we need to filter this out. And the best way to filter this out is to select the main target, the main boss, which is Laradar. And you will see that I have 65 Envenoms and 52 tier set procs. So the ratio here between Envenom and Envenomous Explosion is important. The way that you can easily get the ratio is just pull up a calculator and divide one by the other. So 65 divided by 52, you get 1.25. That's the ratio, right? For every 1.25 Envenoms we cast, we get 1 tier set proc. Now, I've seen some logs during coaching where this number is really, really high. And a really high number on this is really bad. So for example, if I had 80 Envenoms and only 52 tier set hits, you see this number rise to 1.5, right? So the worse the ratio is between these numbers, it means the less efficient you were with your tier set. So ideally, just as a ballpark range, 1.2 is pretty good. Anything under 1.2 is like crazy good. 1.3 is it's okay, it's acceptable, but you had a little bit of a rough time. And if you get any number that's like higher than 1.4, you need some serious looking at, and you need to review your pooling and your Envenom chains and making sure that you're chaining them together. I've had coaching sessions where people are as high as 1.5, 1.6 even. If you're in that range, you need serious help because you are severely playing the tier set wrong. And that is a pretty big loss because, as you can see, the tier set, pretty good damage. So go ahead, look at your logs, do the ratio for yourself. It's just Envenom hits divided by Envenom's Explosion hits, and you want to be in the range of like 1.2-ish. If you're near 1.2-ish, here it's 1.25, that's perfectly fine. 1.3, kind of okay. Again, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. As you get higher and higher, it's worse and worse, and it's more severe of a problem. So if you're at like 1.35, you could have improved, but it's okay. If you're at 1.7, you need to hit a dummy and you need to practice, because that's a serious problem. Sanguine Blades kind of plays itself. You don't play around it, you play around the tier set, so we don't really care. This is just a passive effect, right? The last things that I like to check personally, if you go to resources, this will default to hit points. However, we'll get rid of this. You can also look at your energy, right? And you can look at your combo points. So combo points, things that we're looking at first: waste on Mutilate, Ambush, right? So Seal Fate, this is the critical hits give combo points effect. If there's overcap on this, that is normal. That's perfectly fine. However, if you ever see overcap on Mutilate or Ambush, that is a big problem. So here, for example, I overcapped 3 combo points on Ambush, and this is the Blindside Ambush. The way I'm able to tell, my face hides it. But if you, let me see if I can actually get rid of my face and show you. Yoink. If I hover over this ambush here, you'll see in the bottom left, it hyperlinks to a spell. And it'll say spell equals 430023, so 430,000. That is a very new spell, which means that it's probably Blindside, whereas this ambush is the old ambush. You can tell that this is 8,000, which means that this spell in particular is ancient. You can tell the same thing with Garrote. Garrote is 703. So this is a super OG spell. Shrouded Suffocation, on the other hand, 394,000, really new spell. So if you're ever confused about like which spell is it, like which ambush is it, you can use that as a trick. So 8,000, really old, probably the original ambush. This is the ambush from Stealth. The new ambush from Blindside is 430,000, super new. And that's how you differentiate between those two. Quick little tip there. But I overcapped on some Blindside Envenoms. So I also overcapped on Stealth, which means that I'm bad. Plain and simple. I shouldn't be doing that. We finish on 4 combo points, which means that if I'm ever to cast a generator on 4 combo points, I probably made a mistake, or it's right before a death mark. Given that there's 3 death marks in the entire fight, this is a lot of overcap for 3 death marks. So 5 here, 3 here, that's 8 combo points. That would have been another Envenom, could have been another tier set proc, would have been big damage. It could have kept a chain going that normally wasn't able to be kept going. So in general, for those situations, I probably shouldn't have done this. This is a problem, and I need to look into this and make sure that I'm actually consistently finishing on 4 and not overcapping combo points. If this was a coaching session and I saw this, I would like this is a pretty big rotational mistake. You never want to overcap on the raw generator. Seal Fate overcap is okay and unavoidable. Overcapping on the generator, bad stuff. I need to play better on that. So energy. Energy is a little bit hit or miss, especially as the boss is moving a lot. So Venomous Whim is just the energy you get from Garrote and Rupture. I don't know why it's named differently, but this is the talent up here, Venomous Wounds. So we regain energy on Garrote and Rupture. I don't know why it's called Venomous Vim. Vim? Sounds like whim, like on a whim, but with a German Vim. I don't know. It's very weird. And so like you'll overcap some of this naturally, especially during Bloodlust, and especially if you're getting PI. Like you cannot, if you Bloodlust during Execute and you get PI, it's over. Your blindside's gonna proc out of your mind. You're gonna overcap. It's just impossible. You can't stop it. So having some overcap on here is kind of normal. Having some overcap on this, also same reason, kind of normal. The thing to watch out for is Thistle Tea. You don't want to overcap as a ton of energy on Thistle Tea. Sometimes it's unavoidable, like for example, again, during Lust and PI, you're gonna Thistle Tea the last 6 seconds of Kings Bane, and it's gonna overcap. But you want to keep these numbers low, and you generally don't want to overcap. I don't really have a hard and fast rule. This kind of depends per boss, right? But if you're noticing that your energy is really, really high at some points, really, really low at some points, you kind of want to get a look at that and make sure that you're not overcapping too much. Some ways to avoid overcapping is if a boss is going to go away and you can't hit it, make sure you dump your energy beforehand. That way you can regen energy while the boss is away, and when it comes back, you can use that energy. That's a big tip that a lot of people kind of ignore. So if you have to do mechanics, dump the energy first, then leave. You can use the time while you're gone to regen some energy and then come back, and you don't overcap. And that's sort of all that I check for. Most of the things that I check for. Obviously, you can use this to check your gear as well. For example, if you have bad trinkets, you can compare that. The other thing you can do is you can compare your cooldown timings. And so the thing that I like to use for this is lords.io. And you can click on Assassination Rogues, and you can look at any fight at all. So for example, let's look at Heroic Smolderon. Why not? And you can see, oh, people are using it on cooldown because they're killing in 3 minutes. And then you can see, oh, at rank 26 here, Aviada held Deathmark a little bit, desynced Kings Bane for the intermission, because would have lost a cast. So this is actually kind of okay, right? They had Kings Bane for this intermission, Kings Bane for this intermission, but if they held Deathmark here, it would have lost a cast. So you can kind of use this to study up a little bit. On Mythic, you can also see some stuff, right? So here it's a lot longer, it's a little bit more planning. So you can see a lot of people here just slamming on cooldown, right? Slamming on cooldown, making sure it's up for the 3rd intermission, slamming on cooldown, slamming on cooldown. There's a couple people here using Deathmark in the 1st intermission, so they hold for the 1st intermission. This loses a cast, but it gets them a cooldown in intermission, so you can kind of play around with that. You can check it out. A lot of this stuff, Agira, for example, is going to be mostly on cooldown. We can look at Laridar. Laridar is also going to be mostly on cooldown. You can see the boss mechanics as well at the top here. So, for example, you're like, oh, well, what's this one? Furious Outburst. And you hover over it, and you release a Furious Outburst. Cool. If there's some other things like Farok, we'll show some, not on Mythic, because Mythic doesn't have kills yet, but on Heroic. You can see tank slashes, right, if he moves, especially in P3 here, or Apocalypse Roar, right, so this is the pushback in P3. Here he's jumping away, so Flamefall is when he's up in the sky and then he comes crashing down. So you can see how people handle certain mechanics like that and when the cooldowns line up. So you can use that in your own prog and sort of plan that out, plan your cooldowns out, make sure that your burst is up when you need it. So I hope that helps. And that's sort of the stuff that I've been seeing in coaching sessions with things that have been wrong. So first off, your cooldown sequencing, planning your cooldowns out, not missing casts, making sure that you're not overcapping combo points and energy, making sure that the timings are all right at the tail end of your opener, and just general kind of stuff. The last thing I want to talk about is how to deal with ads in a raid encounter. So this would be a single target build, right? Sorry, this would be a single target build. And the way you deal with ads is you simply go Caustic Spatter. That's all you do. So like Gnarl Root, what are you doing on Gnarl Root? You're just going Caustic Spatter. Igira, if your guild is able to tank the spears close enough for Caustic Spatter to hit, you're just going Caustic Spatter. Volcaros, obviously no ads, so you just take Internal Bleeding. Council, you're taking Caustic Spatter, and then, well, this point would be here, but you're also taking Indiscriminate Carnage. This is the best 2-target build, so you're taking Carnage just for the 2-target. Council is very weird because your tanks need to stack them up really well. If they don't stack, it's going to be rough. After that, Nimue is going to be pure single target. Laredar, ads, Caustic Spatter. Smolderon, pure single target, so you're just taking Internal Bleeding. Tindril, Caustic Spatter because the roots. Then Farok, you can take either or, but if you're going to be able to cleave the ads in P2, you should be taking Caustic Spatter. Obviously, there's no ads in P1 or P3, so taking Internal Bleeding just for the boss damage, perfectly fine if you don't want to do any ad damage in P2. But in general, I would recommend Caustic Spatter for the ad damage. And that's good to go. So essentially, if ad, Caustic Spatter. If no ad, Internal Bleeding. And that's how you AoE in Raid now. It's just that point. There's no situation outside of Council where I would suggest Indiscriminate Carnage. It's simply too janky and too slow. And ads don't live long enough for it. So don't do that. If you super need to on like Tindril, you can take Flying Daggers. But this is really weird because you lose a lot of single target going Flying Daggers over Venom Rush. So in typical raid scenarios, you would never drop Venom Rush. However, the range increase on Fan of Knives situationally may be kind of good. It's a hard sell though, it's a really hard sell. While we're on talent stuff, if you're going to take Acrobatic Strikes, I took Acrobatic Strikes on Nimue personally, because Nimue is a little bit rough on Mythic. You would take these 3 points out. Acro, double lethality. This is worse in Sims. It does simulate worse. I'm not going to tell you that it's better, because it's not. However, on fights where you have a lot of uptime problems, for example, Nimue, you can take this and it performs very similarly and it helps you get off your burst more consistently. My main problem was on Nimue, I would start dodging and I'd try to get my cooldowns out and then I would be out of range and I'd miss the King's Bane, I'd miss a Shiv, right? All that kind of stuff that happens when you're off the boss and not in range to cast any abilities. So all of that was very weird, and so I just played Lethality, Acrobatic Strikes, and it was good to go. But in general, I would stick to Deeper and Alacrity just because the damage is better. And if you're able to maintain good uptime, which you should be able to do on basically every fight, this is just going to outperform. Is there anything else that I want to talk about? After the nerf, it's like a 4% nerf, the King's Bane nerf, the Blindside nerf. Improved Ambush is slightly worse for some people. It simmed equal to me. I've seen people that still take improved ambush because it sims higher for them. This is a really kind of situational choice, and it's really close, but make sure you simulate yourself again. If you've gotten this far in the video, 30 minutes of me yapping is quite a long time, but secret dark hidden tech, maybe tight spender is like 250 DPS better for you. You can use that to hold it over your other rogue in the guild. Think smarter, not harder. Yeah, that's about all I have. Also, elusiveness is really good. I'm gonna tell you right now, elusiveness is really good. If you don't play with elusiveness, try playing with elusiveness. Elusiveness is really good. This evasion 20% and the feint 20% stack. So if you cast evasion, then you cast feint, you're immortal for basically 10 seconds. Pretty good. It's pretty good stuff. Especially against like rot damage, like Smolderon. Cheat Death won't really save you that often from the rot damage. For example, during intermissions, if you're on Mythic Smolderon, the intermissions hurt a lot. So as long as you're dodging waves, Cheat Death is kind of really meh, is what I found. But elusiveness, if you're taking dot damage in the intermission, you press evasion, you're in business, you're good to go. You press feint, you're in business, you're good to go. So if you know when the timers are coming, you know when the mechanics are coming, you don't need the safety net of Cheat Death, or if there's a lot of rot damage that's just ticking you down and not trying to one-shot you, try it out. You'll be surprised. Anyways, that's all I have again for the log review session. I hope that helped. And as much as I appreciate the support and the money from coaching, I really wish that I didn't have to do it, because in theory, my content and my guides should be good enough to carry everyone, and it should explain all the concepts. So the fact that I'm getting swamped with 4 to 5 coaching sessions a day for the last week is a sign that I did not do good enough, and I did not educate the masses good enough, or else people wouldn't need coaching. So that's on me. Hopefully these videos kind of shore that up a little bit, and people don't need to buy coaching sessions and don't need to spend money on me, because it makes me really uncomfortable when people spend money on me. I don't know what you guys expected. It's 3:30 in the morning. I don't have time to make YouTube videos in like the last 2 weeks. You're gonna get unhinged whisper. You're welcome, sorry. Anyways, enough yapping about my personal life. Have a good one, bye.